left cheekbones, upper jawbone, lower jawbone, right eye fundus, I don't know what the hell that is, nasal bones, all varying degrees of fractured? Yeah, okay. Left collarbone completely fractured, upper left carpus and middle left hand bones completely fractured, right shoulder dislocated, right ulna, metacarpus, and carpal bones completely fractured, ribs 3 and 4 of the right rib cage completely fractured, ribs 5 and 6 of the right rib cage compound fractures. Yo, this is quite a list, man. Ribs 4 through 6 of the left rib cage completely fractured. Ribs 7 and 8 of the left rib cage compound fractures. Yo, at what point did you guys think, well, maybe I should stop? Right femur partially fractured. Right tibia, left fibula, both metatarsal. Yo. Yo. Completely fractured, not to mention all the various sprains, bruises, cuts, and lacerations. In total, I had damage 48 distinct locations. If you listed it out like that, it sounded like I got in a fight with a dump truck or something. I was surprised I even made it to the hospital in one piece. I mean, if you can call that One Piece. Yo, saying One Piece just reminded me of the anime One Piece. But you definitely sure as hell are not in One Piece, bro. To be honest, though, I would have been okay with dying. Yeah, maybe you should have just died. But then if you died, then this story wouldn't have happened, most likely. It wasn't that I had no regrets. I had just kind of reached this zen state. Like, if I was gonna die, so be it. Well, the thing is, right? You got your ass handed to you by a misprint. Just think about that. Maybe it would be better to say that I just stopped caring. That fight had been enough excitement for one lifetime. If that's excitement, I don't want to have excitement for the rest of my life. I lost the will to do anything, barely paying attention to the world around me. I stopped giving a shit about myself either way. Despite my rather unhealthy mental state, bro, your mental state was unhealthy way before all this happened. Let's be real. You're talking about, I'm not gonna have fun for the rest of my life until I die just so time can feel slower. I mean, bro, you already had issues. My body recovered quickly enough to shock even the doctors attending me. More than a little ironic. Honestly, there was a part of me that wanted to laze around in a hospital a little longer. More issues. Unless you got problems at home, which I'm assuming there are. Everything you're saying is a mental issue right now. But I suppose there simply weren't enough beds to keep someone fully recovered lying around forever. Well, how long has it been since he recovered? The hospital staff told me that I needed to get out of there if I was well enough to be walking around. I really had no choice in the matter. I wasn't a fan of the idea of someone who actually needed care being turned away because of my selfishness. It was for the best that I complied with the staff's request. Regardless of my feelings, the world would keep on turning. They said that time stopped for no man after all. No turning back. What was done was done. Right now, the important thing was thinking about what would come next. Not having mental issues? Maybe you should start with that, right? It didn't matter whether or not I was capable of doing it. I had to face the fact that it was necessary, period. That was the only way I could ever be able to move forward. So I decided to walk out of there with a smile on my face one way or another. I headed back to my room to pick up my things after taking care of the checkout procedure. Of course, the only real personal effects I had brought with me were some changes of clothes and an MD player. The hell is an MD player? I had spent 2 months in this hospital room, but I figured cleaning it up would probably only take around 5 minutes. It ended up taking 10, but hey, same difference. The extra 5 were a result of having to clean up all the junk that Kasumi brought in while visiting. Yo, who's Kasumi? I mean Kasumi. Well, I guess Kasumi is the Japanese way you'd pronounce it. Who is that? That is the name that I love that name. Like, that is one of my favorite Japanese names, actually. There were various comics, novels, and even adult magazines. I seriously don't know what she was thinking with these scattered all over the place. More than a dozen in total. Rather than dealing with them myself, I decided to just send them all back to her place.
お大事に。いや、あいつは今頃学校ですよ。来るとうるさくなるんで、一足先に。って、そうですか？変な趣味してますね。
The other patients in the same room made sure to get in a few last lighthearted jabs. I was never good at dealing with situations like this. I doubt anyone would call me the sociable type, but thanks to Kasumi, the other patients would often strike up conversations with me. It would be awkward to just ignore them completely after all. My responses were always half-assed. Half-assed and mental issues galore, right? Hospitals generally had a gloomy atmosphere about them, so it was only natural that someone cheery like Kasumi would draw attention. Interesting. I took my bag and turned to leave, but at that moment... Yo, F the misprint, dude! Shiro, being just as messed up as I was, had also been taken to this hospital. The bastard disappeared 3 days after his surgery and hadn't been seen since. I thought it said been. That would have been interesting. Because I've seen errors like this in, I think Steins Gate. It's just... Yeah, exactly. What Shiro was up to was none of my business. I needed to stop worrying about his bullshit. Why are you worrying about a misprint, dude? He's obviously doesn't matter. I stepped out of the hospital room, putting it all behind me once and for all. Yo, where's Kasumi? I need to know if she is gonna be that character for me. If she's gonna be my favorite character. I mean, the name is enough to get me, but I need to see the character, and then I need to see how she actually acts, and then we'll determine that for myself. It had been months since I had last been outside of the hospital. The vast blue sky spread out invitingly above me. In the 2 months I had been hospitalized, autumn had turned to winter. I suddenly became curious as to whether they were already putting up Christmas decorations downtown. I decided it might be fun to experience my own version of the whole Rip Van Winkle experience. I needed a change of pace from the dull scenery I had been stuck staring at from the hospital window anyway. Maybe this would help me get back into the swing of things. Swing of things. Unfortunately, even downtown, there was but the barest trace of the Christmas spirit I had been expecting. It made me realize again just how laid back Suwahara City really was. Suwahara was built back around the time of World War II. Despite being an isolated location, it was nevertheless fairly prosperous thanks to the efforts on the part of the big shots in charge of the place. What Suwahara lacked in history and tradition, it made up for in tourist attractions. There were any number of facilities to draw in crowds with, such as an amusement park that was famous nationwide. You could call it a small town success story. Of course, I only moved there 2 years ago myself, so I wasn't really one to talk. I was definitely a fan of the landscape and general atmosphere of the city though. It seemed like a hectic place at first glance, but things moved slower in Suwahara than one might think. Once you got used to it, it was as relaxing as a baby's cradle. What was I about to say? Of course, most people would tell you the exact opposite, that Suwahara was a lively place with a bustling atmosphere. But I did know a few other people who agreed with my assessment, such as Himuro and Shiro. It wasn't like you could really say that either line of thinking was right or wrong though, and I didn't feel like trying to argue with people who disagreed. Live and let live, I guess. Anyway, my first foray into the city in 2 months didn't end up changing my impression of it much. I wonder how much money he has on him. In the end, I just came to the boring conclusion that it was the same city as ever. Right as I was about to head back... Oh, yes, I'm about to run into what could possibly be my favorite character. A piercing wail akin to the shrieking of a banshee rang out from behind me. So much for enjoying a quiet afternoon. It was at times like this that I questioned why I was even friends with this girl. No, I think the real question is, why is she friends with you? In the first place, who would consider it a good idea to start yelling someone's name in the middle of the street like that?